Good afternoon, and welcome to the SE 5341 CM Systems Project presentation, presented by Team A. This consists of Hugo Acosta, Joshua Allen, Amy Buford, Miriam Bustamante, and Mark Rodriguez. For this presentation, we will be viewing and analyzing the different models and representations used to develop our CM system. Each team member will analyze two of the diagrams you see here and describe their uses and benefits for the CM system, as well as different information. We will first begin by analyzing the work breakdown structure. This type of diagram organizes the project's work as a whole. It is used for any team leader, analyst, and architect that needs to break down the different types of tasks, risks, and deliverables that happen within the CM tool. This is usually implemented when wanting to estimate the scope of the project, either in the beginning or wanting to update its different aspects during the development phase. As an example, with our CM tool, one of the stakeholders that we have chosen is the government personnel. These type of stakeholders are the daily verification and validation of CM functionality through the customer, and they also provide diagnostic exams within the system to note discrepancies and improvements to be made. The next diagram we will analyze is the use case diagram. This type of function carefully identifies and analyzes the interaction between your external entities and high-level functions within a CM system. One of the benefits of using this diagram is that it is very easy to comprehend. There is a more visual representation that is viewed with this type of diagram instead of wordings, paragraphs, and bullets. Within our CM system, we have identified a series of actors or external entities, such as your customers, your architects, government, and much more. The bubbles that are within the rectangle, which is the boundary of the system, are the high-level functions that we have identified for our CM system. You will see that there are different actors that can identify and interact with one or more of the high-level functions.
Hi, this is Amy Buford. I will be presenting to you two systems engineering tools used to manage system complexity. For our configuration management system, many stakeholders need to contribute and be informed. The affinity diagram will visually represent their numerous ideas and order their ideas into logical groupings. We start by collecting stakeholder ideas. This is a practice of divergent thinking. We then organize ideas into similar logical groupings, thus practicing convergent thinking as we are converging many ideas into a meaningful order. To further clarify patterns of structure, we add headers and remove idea duplications. Finally, we nest common ideas and fill in gaps within the idea categories. Because of this powerful tool, our CM system is now defined and can be further analyzed or communicated to stakeholders. Early stakeholder definition and engagement is critical to the success of our CM system. We will utilize the stakeholder matrix during the planning phase so all important deliverables and responsibilities identified are assigned to a specific resource. We are using the RACI stakeholder matrix to create a graphical representation of activities linked to a specific role and all parties linked to a specific activity. RACI is an acronym for a person or a role that is responsible, accountable, consulted, or informed. The responsible party ensures the activity is completed. The accountable party is performing the activity. The consulted party has expertise required for activity completion, and the informed party must be notified of activity status. Now that we have defined our CM system's relevant stakeholders and their designated activities, Miriam will show you how to gather metrics on system activities using the indicator template.
Hello, my name is Miriam Bustamante, and today I will be presenting the indicator template and into matrix for our Systems Engineering Fundamentals Group project. Our indicator template. The purpose is to provide information to the team on a specific item using a metric. Our indicator template specifies the following: to provide customer-facing data integrity metrics for each of the customer's level of clearance. This was our objective. In this aspect, clearance is related to permission to read, write, delete, modify, add, view, etc. set to answer the following. How successful is the data storage and retrieval of each of the customer's level of clearance? Where is the customer's data being accessed from? Which of the customer's levels of clearance account for most or least data traffic? So here we have the algorithm that we used, taking the risk of access or clearance per functional title of each employee. DR is document request and DA is document accessibility. As you can see, the CEO has the most, while customers have the least amount of accessibility, but the most amount to request. So we ended up using this algorithm and plotted it for each of the identified persons. As you can see, the values show the outcome of how an entry-level employee must follow the chain of command in order to get the necessary files he or she requires. It shows who will have access to whichever document and who would request more, who has less accessibility. There's difficulties in this concept because there's gaps between the tiers. For example, employee 2 may need to get access to a document that the chief platform integrator has ownership of, but depending on how the business is structured, this might lead to them having to go through a large chain of command. So now we'll be talking about the N2 matrix. So here we have the N2 matrix questions that we answered, which was how do you read an N2 matrix and what is the purpose? The purpose of the N2 matrix is to generate the list of interfaces for the specified system, and you read it in a counterclockwise motion, same way you fill it out. So here our group provided the external entities for our system as well as identified the components of our system. As you can see, there's 14 in total, and then we populated it using the specified directions. On our submission, it was noted that there was no mention of relating interactions between external entities, so therefore the main goal is to relate component interactions between component to component and component to external entities. And here we just have a brief screenshot of our indicator matrix. Our N2 matrix, as you can see, is quite large, and the relationship tables were even larger. But yes, that is all I have for today. Thank you.
As we studied throughout the class, one of the main purposes of a configuration management system is to establish and maintain the integrity of work product documents. These work product documents are going to be considered configuration items, which are the fundamental structural unit of a configuration management tool. Additionally, we will discuss the baselines for the system and its components. In order to have effective work products, we must ensure that these are included in our repository, include versioning if applicable, establish change and access control, establish permissions to read, write, or delete, and finally, whether or not a backup will exist which will be carried away to different baselines. For example, one of the work products that we've chosen is the requirement specification. We shall be including a repository, we shall include a versioning for it, along with change and access control, and permissions to read, write, and delete. Finally, there needs to be a backup so we can publish to the baseline. The table continues to identify the rest of the work products we have proposed for a configuration management tool. Shown here are the baselines and the configuration items that make up each baseline. It is important to note that in order to have an effective baseline, we must identify the work product version, who authorizes the publication of the baseline, completion status, verification status, whether or not the baseline is accepted by the Configuration Management Board, and whether or not the work product meets the quality and mission assurance standards. Finally, we must establish its delivery date. For instance, we've chosen the Analysis Baseline, version 1. Its configuration item shall be requirements, and the work product name are the list services and requirement specifications. The analyst is the one who authorizes the publication of this baseline. The table goes on to discuss the different baselines we have proposed for a configuration management tool. Now we'll move on to the next tools, Risk Identify and Decision Analysis Resolution, which will be discussed by my colleague, Mark Rodriguez.
This is Mark Rodriguez. and I will be presenting decision analysis and resolution. Our team used this process to analyze possible decisions, to evaluate alternatives against our system's established criteria. We followed a four-step process using a variety of templates to achieve this. First, we identified criteria by number, then assigned a numerical value for each criteria. Second, we selected alternative systems and assigned weighted values against the same criteria. Third, we performed a risk analysis to evaluate probability of risk and impact to the project. Finally, we evaluated the result of the risk to determine the best alternative for our system. Next topic is risk management. Our team used this process to identify, analyze, treat, and monitor the risk to our system continually. We documented our risk management strategy using several factors and templates to accomplish: deciding how to handle risk, defining risk parameters, setting trigger values, monitoring mitigation plans, and identifying sources of risk by cost, schedule, technical, and programmatic factors. Our strategy was intended to guide the customer, user, or business in a structured framework for risk management.
And in conclusion, Josh went over the work breakdown structure and use case diagram, Amy the affinity diagram and the stakeholder matrices, while I, Miriam Bustamante, went over the N2 diagram and indicator metric. Hugo did the configuration items and baselines, and to sum it up, Mark did the DAR analysis and identified risks. Overall, it was a good experience. Thank you.